Yes, welcome to lecture 2, Principles of Working Pharmacology and Toxicology. I'm Kulak Altavik and I'll be your course moderator. In lecture 2, we shall be discussing about sources of natural drugs. Sometimes we call natural drugs as crude drugs, so we must understand the various sources where we could obtain these natural drugs. Crude drugs or natural drugs, we use them as they are without being processed. What we want to do with these crude drugs is always collecting them from different places from where they are. We dry, then we do a size reduction, then we always take them as they are. We use them in that form. Crude drugs we can obtain different crude drugs from different sources, as one of the major sources being plants, as you shall see. Crude drugs are obtained from plants, animals, minerals, microorganisms, marine, insects, plants, and many more. As you shall see, those are basically like 7 sources of natural drugs or 7 sources of crude drugs. For example, with animals, we can see like if we obtain the pancreas from the pigs or the porcine, we always obtain insulin. Then, for example, if we use sheep, we obtain what we call the fat wool. The fat wool is a good source of medicine that is used in human medicine to treat measles. We have minerals, and minerals are also sources of these natural drugs. For example, sulfur, we have iron, iodine, many minerals are sources of natural drugs. We have microorganisms like, for example, we have bacteria like we have fungi, and these have been great sources of natural drugs. So we shall see. For example, like if you talk about fungi, for example, with fungi, we have penicillin G, which is commonly used as penicillin. This is obtained from fungi. Insects like bees have provided us with natural drugs, for example, like honey, then wax. Plants are one of the oldest sources of crude drugs, or plants are one of the oldest sources of drugs, as you shall see, with an example of morphine being obtained from opium poppy, and this is one of the synthetic drugs to be obtained. Morphine was obtained from a plant called opium poppy. Scientifically, we call it Paparava somniferum, and that was as early as 1827. Aspirin, which is one of the common painkiller, is also obtained from plants, and that plant is called the white willow. But since we use the bark of that tree, we call it aspirin. It's obtained from the willow bark, and that was as early as 1899. Quinine is also another drug that is obtained from the plant, and quinine was obtained from the bark of what we call the cinchona tree. This is as early as 17th century. Most of the drugs have been obtained from plants, and basically currently these prescribed drugs, 25% are from plants. With an example of a drug that we call as scrotum, commonly used in treating malaria. It was obtained from a tree that we call as Artemisia annua, that was in China around 1970, with its active ingredient being called artemisinin. We have like World Health Organization recognizes more than 200 drugs being obtained from plants. And with plants, we always use various parts of the plant. For example, you can say the rhizomes for the case of ginger, we have seeds for the case of Ricinus communis, we have stem, we have the bark as we have seen for the cases of cinchona, we have flowers. Sometimes we can use the whole plant. This is opium poppy, which we are calling Paparava somniferum. This is the plant that gave us where we obtain morphine. Scientific name of opium poppy, I've said that it's Paparava somniferum. Quinine, which is obtained from cinchona tree, is one of the drugs that we use as an antimalarial. During the early missionary days in South America, most of the citizens or the natives, the local personnel, for example, like in this image, we see these are basically the local natives of the area, the Peru. For them, they used to get the cinchona tree, the bark, then they could treat signs or diseases which were showing signs of fever. Then when the missionaries came in South America, they found out that these locals, they used that particular tree, which we are calling chinchona tree, to treat malaria. So they picked the tree and then they had to go and do analysis to find out the most active ingredient, which was quinine, that could treat malaria. And because of that, we have now kind of what we call quinine sulfate, which are the tablets, and these are used as anti-malaria. Still with the chinchona tree, we can also obtain a drug called quinidine, which works on the heart diseases. So here are some of the examples of natural plants with their corresponding drugs that you have obtained. One, we have spoken of quinine and quinidine being obtained from chinchona tree. And the quinine is an anti-malaria. Then the quinidine is for it basically works on it works basically on the heart. So quinine is the active ingredient that is obtained from the chinchona tree. The other tree that I have spoken of is the Artemisia annua. This was first discovered in China around 1970. And with Artemisia annua, the active ingredient is artemisinin. It's obtained from Artemisia annua that we call scientifically Artemisia annua, but the English name is sweet wormwood. This one is also known for antimalarial. Then we have aspirin that we have spoken of being one of the painkillers that has been known for many years. It was also obtained from what we call the white willow bark. Scientifically, we call it Salix alba. Then we have opium poppy, giving us morphine, and also gives us a drug that we call as codeine. Then we have the coca plant. These are some of those other plants. Coca plants gives us cocaine. We have atropine as a chemical ingredient being obtained from what we call Atropa belladonna. Then we have digoxin as a drug being obtained from Dignitaris species. Animals have also provided us with various drugs. So the second source of natural drugs is animals. For example, like in our common communities, we have seen honey being used as an antibacterial drug, and this is obtained from mainly the bees. These honeybees provide us with honeybee or wax that we use as natural drugs for various disease conditions. For example, I'll give an example of antibacterial. We have snakes, which are also animals, and these are given us, they provide venoms which are anti-cancers, which are used as anti-cancers. I've spoken of sheep during the introduction, and sheep provides us with what we call the wool fat. The wool fat is being used to treat malaria, is being used to treat measles, sorry. Then we have pigs, whereby in pigs we obtain insulin from the porcine pancreas. We have the toads. These toads provide us with drugs that we call as bufali. Though they provide us with also some toxins that we call as bufotoxin and bufotenin. Then we have the musks giving us the musk oil, the cod leaf oil from the sharks. Those are some of the drugs that we obtain from different animals. So animals are one of the sources of natural drugs or crude drugs, and these also are the largest. Remember, we said the plants provide us with most of the drugs. We see animals also provide us with some drugs. The other source of crude drugs is what we call the microorganisms. Microorganisms also provide us with various natural drugs, with an example being the common one that we use, which we use in our fields like treating. We have tetracyclines, we have gentamicins, erythromycins. These have been used to treat various bacterial diseases in animals, and these are obtained from what we call the actinomycetes. So actinomycetes are microorganisms that provide us with various drugs such as tetracyclines, streptomycin, erythromycin, gentamicin, and actinomycin. Bacteria also provide us with some drugs. For example, like we see bacillus, that genus which is known as bacillus, it's known for causing a disease known as anthrax. Also provide us with a drug that we call as bacitracin and polymyxin B. Fungi have also been great sources of natural medicine. For example, they provide us with what we call the pen strip. This is the active ingredient is penicillin G, the benzyl penicillin. As we shall discuss the story how penicillin G was discovered. The man who discovered penicillin G is called Alexander Fleming and is a bacteriologist. As he was doing his practicals, for him, on his petri dish, he had some bacteria. This was Staphylococcus, but on the dish there was fungi, and on this fungi, areas that were near the fungi were almost white, meaning they were dying. So he had to go further to understand which active ingredient was in the fungi that was causing the death of the bacteria as he was conducting his practicals during the early days. This was in the hospital. So minerals are also another source of crude drugs or natural drugs. And we see, for example, like in our daily life, we always use sulfur drugs to treat cases of calf scores. So sulfur is one of the example of the minerals that are natural sources of drugs. Sulfur has been known of its bacteriostatic, therefore it's effective. Other minerals that we use to treat, we have iron, and this could be obtained from the soils. For example, it can be treated in cases of pigmental anemia. Other minerals we have the sodium, calcium, and so on. The other source of natural drug include marine. This is basically like water, marine. For example, like with marine, we can use an example of agar-agar that has provided us with that is obtained from red algae, and this agar-agar is being used to treat virus and cancers. The other source of natural drugs is what we call a tissue culture. With tissue culture, we obtain various parts of either plants or animals, then multiply them within the lab. We always do what we call DNA recombinants, so that we can obtain certain drugs. An example is vanilla. With vanilla, we obtain a drug that we call vanillin. When we have human insulin being obtained from the porcine or the pigs, that's as a result of using DNA recombinants. And with the tissue culture is also another source of natural drugs. Those are all the forms of natural drugs. Then we can speak about the crude drugs. Crude drugs are basically, we classify them into two types. We have what we call organized and unorganized. So organized, we obtain them from a cellular part. For them, they are cellular. For example, if we talk in case of plants, a drug would be organized crude drug if you pick it from either the leaf, a root, a bark, stem, seed. Use an example of resinous communist whereby first we always pick the seeds. So the seed for that part it would be a crude drug. Then we have cases where we use unorganized crude drugs. For unorganized crude drugs, we always use a particular part of a plant. For example, if we pick maybe latex, the jam, or the juice. And an example we have is if we use aloe vera we always use the juice. Therefore, for that case, it would be unorganized crude drug. If we use, for example, also an example would be also still with pawpaw. If you use maybe the sap, that would be also unorganized crude drug, which is not the case with organized. With organized, we pick cellular morphological parts like maybe the roots, stems, and so on. So therefore, in unorganized, for it is a cellular. We don't pick the morphological part, but we pick the other part of the plant. For example, you have said of the latex, the gum, and then the juice. That's all. Grazie tante.